What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back again with another video. You guys are probably seeing the title and thinking, why would the Leafs trade for a pending UFA in Dougie Hamilton? Well, we'll get into a little bit of that in a second, but it looks like Carolina is looking to see if they can get something for him right now, or are they playing a little bit of a game with Dougie Hamilton? We'll get into that, but if you are new to this channel, make sure to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you for all the support recently. I really do appreciate that. Liking and subscribing helps a ton, so if you do enjoy the content, just know it does help me if you do like and subscribe. I post a lot of Leafs-based content here, and again, it's just my opinion, and I'd love to hear yours as well. Guys, it's the off-season. We got to talk about something, and I love talking about hockey, so let's just go ahead and talk about this, regardless of if you think it's big news or not. Let's just have some fun with it. So let's just move over to this Elliott Freeman string of tweets here, a couple of them right now. Elliott Freeman tweeted, "A sign the offseason is really revving up as the Final Four chase the Stanley Cup. Good luck to all four of those teams, by the way. Carolina has given Dougie Hamilton permission to talk to other NHL teams. Opens potential for a sign and trade." So Carolina is the only team currently that can sign him to an 8-year contract. So they could sign Dougie Hamilton to 8 years, but it would be the team that's trading for him that would be negotiating that contract. So the other thing that this does is it allows Hamilton to see if the Hurricanes do make the best offer for him, potentially allowing for a return if he doesn't like what he sees out there. Very interesting maneuver by team and players. So basically, Carolina is maybe calling his bluff a little bit. Carolina is a great hockey team. I would imagine they want to keep him around. The other thing that I would like to add on to this right away, and the reason why I'm putting Toronto in this conversation is because Dougie Hamilton and the Leafs have been linked to each other for a few years now, and not just like, oh, we're just hoping that it happens. There's been a little bit of credibility behind the two being connected, which would be awesome. But there are some statistics that I would like to go show you guys that are for and against Dougie Hamilton, as ridiculous as that sounds, because I really do like Dougie Hamilton. But I'm just curious to see how many teams would be interested in this sign and trade because they could just get him for free, when he's a UFA. But at the same time, Seattle could offer him a ton of money because they have an exclusive window to sign free agents before other teams are allowed to negotiate. They could just throw the bag at him and say, take all this money. But do teams have the money besides Seattle to sign Dougie Hamilton? Carolina might be saying the only team that might be interested to give you the big money is Seattle. And even then, maybe they're not interested right away. Maybe they're going with the slow build route. Maybe they're not going with the Vegas route of, finding the misfits and putting it all together. But that wouldn't make a lot of sense to me. So I think Carolina is really looking to see if Dougie Hamilton likes what he sees out there. And maybe that's also the Toronto Maple Leafs. Who knows? So the one thing I do want to bring up here is just the end of his contract here. So Hamilton will be an unrestricted free agent, like we said. He's wrapping up a 6-year, $34.5 million contract. He was traded from the Calgary Flames, which is ridiculous, to Carolina in June of 2018. The 27-year-old recorded 10 goals and 42 points during 55 regular season games and added 2 goals and 5 points in 11 playoff games this season. Now, that's where I wanted to move over to next. He's 27 years old, so if you are signing this contract, especially if it's going to be 7 or 8 years, and if it is a sign and trade, I'd imagine Dougie Hamilton will be looking for those 8 years. I mean, who wouldn't want to maximize the amount of money that you can get? But you'd be signing him pretty deep into him aging. He's going to be in his prime for the next few years, I'd imagine, for sure. You'd probably get 4 or 5 good years out of Dougie Hamilton for sure. But you can't guarantee those same point totals once he gets a little bit older, because he puts up a lot of points. Let's be real here. 40 points in 47 games played in the 1920 season, 42 in 55 this past season, like we said. The next thing I want to move over to here, and don't worry, the Leafs equation of this is coming up, but this was just the points from last year. And the comparison that everybody's been making is Dougie Hamilton here with 42 points in 55 games played, and Morgan Reilly, who had 35 in 55. So he played he played the same amount of games, but obviously the point totals are off here. Now, it's not a significant difference. Now, I love Dougie Hamilton, but if you're going to be trading Morgan Reilly just to acquire Dougie Hamilton, that contract is going to be very expensive. But I don't know that the significance of getting Hamilton over Reilly is enough where it's like sends you way over the top. I don't know if the blue line was the Leafs' biggest problem, which is ridiculous to even say. But you've got Liljegren coming up, and you've got Rasmus Sandin, who looks like he needs to take another step. And I do believe Timothy Liljegren has to be thrown into a situation where he's getting a lot of minutes. Nothing crazy, but he needs to be put into a lot of different situations. So getting Dougie Hamilton sure would be awesome, but I don't see that number being less than $8 million per season. I personally don't think it's less than 8, especially if you're going to try to get him at 6 or 7 years. That number is going to be huge. Getting rid of Morgan Reilly is probably something the Leafs have to look at because he could walk for free after this season. But are you making that move just to acquire Dougie Hamilton? Now, he's got a great shot. He's good on the power play. He's a quarterback on the power play, as they like to say. The eye test shows really good stuff. The statistics show really good stuff as well. But he's also a guy that plays an offensive role. He plays a lot of offensive shifts. He's not a guy that's going to be playing always in the defensive zone. But you've got guys like Brody, you've got guys like Muzzin to take over that. And the other thing too that I'd like to add into this is, where does Justin Hall fit into this equation? Are you going to try to keep Reilly and Hamilton for a year and then get rid of Justin Hall? Are you going to get rid of Hall regardless to save a bit of money and bring in Bogosian, get rid of Reilly? Like, there's a lot of intangibles here, and I will get to the cap-friendly mock thing here, and I'll show you guys the lineup that I came up with. But you're not going to be giving up a ton in a sign and trade because no team is just going to sell the farm just to get him when they could just negotiate with him and hope to get him in free agency. But if a team's desperate for Dougie Hamilton, then it becomes a little bit more of like, okay, we really, really want this guy. We have to make this move. We have to give up a little more than we want to and negotiate a big contract. There could be teams like that out there, but I'm not positive that there's enough teams out there to sign this contract. The market for Pietrangelo is more than likely going to be higher, and it was, than a Dougie Hamilton, just based off of I think more or less his career, the Stanley Cup thing. It's like it just, to me, it seems like there's going to be more interest, or there was more interest in a guy like Pietrangelo, even though I don't think that it was a very wide margin. If you guys are hearing what I'm saying, I know I haven't explained it well, but I just don't think Hamilton will have that same market that Pietrangelo does. It just doesn't really add up to me. So the next thing I want to show you guys is a little bit of some scoring here. So from the 18-19 season to the 2020-21 season that just ended. This is regular season, obviously, and it's just points, right? You guys are going to see Morgan Reilly has 134 points in 184 games. Not too far down, the same amount of games played, but only 121 points. So since the 18-19 season, Reilly has outscored him. But to be fair, if you go from the last two seasons, and we'll let this thing load up a little bit here, we've got Dougie Hamilton at 102 games played with 82 points, and Morgan Reilly, where is he? I think you had to scroll a little bit for him. Yeah, 102 games, same amount of games, 62 points. So there is a way of looking at this and going, okay, the last couple seasons, Dougie Hamilton has taken a step above him. Their plus minus is, kind of the same if you value that statistic. But Dougie Hamilton has started to outperform him offensively. And give Morgan Reilly all the crap you want to, but in this past playoffs, he was actually pretty good. So for me, it's like, how much do I value those 20 point difference in the past two seasons? Now, the other thing I wanted to bring up is the power play. We all know the Leafs power play isn't very good. So since the 18-19 season to the 2020-21 season, you will see again Morgan Reilly in 184 games played has 40 power play points. Dougie Hamilton in the same amount of games played has 37 points. Now, there's obviously some intangibles here in terms of time on ice. Morgan Reilly has played more time on the power play, I believe, not by too much, but this is pretty close. 3 points, and Morgan Reilly has played more time on the power play. So there's definitely a chance for him in terms of Dougie Hamilton to, get more points. Now, as this loads a little bit here, these numbers are all just statistics, and I know a lot of people aren't just into the numbers, but they do matter. They definitely do matter in the thick of things, because it's definitely something that you have to look at. So then when you go from the 1920 season, right, we've got here, he's up here, 30 points in 102 games played, and as you can see, there is Morgan Reilly down here, 19. So again, there is a bit of a significant dip here again for Morgan Reilly. Now, the next thing I want to bring you guys over is to cap friendly, because this is what the Leafs would look like if Kerfoot was selected by Seattle, right? So we're just assuming Kerfoot's probably going to get selected by Seattle, right? So that would remove $3.5 million. So I just did that on cap friendly. With the 81.5 cap hit, you're going to see negative 229. Let's say Dougie Hamilton gets $8 million. You're going to either trade or keep Morgan Reilly. He's the difference between this number going down, because I have Liljegren up here. So you got 7 defensemen. One of them will be a scratch. You still don't have a backup goaltender. You still don't have a fourth line right winger. And I've also signed Zach Hyman to $5 million. Now, Zach Hyman might not re-sign. Morgan Reilly might get traded. That would be the difference between having that extra money to acquire different pieces, or are you doing a monster trade and Mitch Marner ends up being the guy that goes? I don't know. It seems like Marner's not going to get traded, but we can get to that in a bunch of different videos. But as you can see here, it would be very difficult for the Leafs to keep both of these guys if it were to be a thing. And that's also including Zach Hyman, but you don't have a backup goaltender. You don't have a really good bottom six. I'm sorry, one of Engvall or Mikheyev is going to be gone, and it's probably going to be Engvall. But you're also asking Nick Robertson to go to the second line here. So there's definitely a lot of changes that need to be made if Hamilton was an option. And I'm not saying that this is something that's going to happen. But when a high-profile player is out there, the Leafs media is going to attach the Leafs name to it. But in this case, it's a little bit more just because this has been something that's been talked about a few times in years past. And I do believe that it's necessary to at least touch on the subject, because that's what I do. So let me know what you guys think. Again, this was a long video, a lot of numbers, a lot of talking. So please leave your thoughts down below. If you guys did make it to the end of this video, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. Again, I do appreciate all the support that's been on this channel lately. I love making these videos when there's a lot of people commenting and responding. By the way, go Blue Jays. I got Vladdy Jr. on the back here, just crushing the ball, leading the majors in a lot of categories at the time of this recording. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. And could the Leafs get Dougie Hamilton? I'm going to say no.